Now, what is an emotion? I would separate it into E, which I would say represents the ego, and motion. So it's a movement of the ego. It's a thought with power. An emotion is a thought, but a thought which has power behind it, a greater power than another kind of thought. Now, what are the stimuli which stimulate emotions within us? One category, and I would say that this category contains most of the causes of our emotions, rather the stimuli of our emotions, is an external event. That could be something that we gain, something that we lose, something that someone says to us. Someone speaks pleasantly to us and we feel affirmed and we feel well. Someone criticizes us and our day is darkened. We gain something, we buy something, we achieve something, we fail at something, we lose something, and that creates a different kind of emotion. So the basic stimulus for all emotions are events which take place in our lives, and more, for most people, events which have relationship with persons that are important to us. That is what affects us more than anything. That is, events which have to do with our children, with our parents, with our spouse, with our loved one, with our work, with our health. These are the main events which create these emotional states. Another cause, I have not used the word cause, because the only actual cause of emotions are beliefs. So we're going to call these stimuli. That is, the stimulus which creates the light is the switch, but the cause of the light is the electricity. You understand the difference? So it's just a trigger. What triggers emotions? What triggers emotion is an event, but the cause of the emotion is what I believe about the event. If I believe differently about the event, then I have a completely different emotional state. That is, if the same event happened before us in this room at this moment, and each is observing that event through a different mindset, through a different set of beliefs, each is going to experience different emotions as he observes that same event. So the cause of the emotion is the belief, but the triggering mechanism is that which happens. Another triggering mechanism is memory. So it could be something that's not happening at this moment in my life, but I'm remembering something that happened, and that memory causes me to feel well or unhappy, depending on the event that I remember and how I interpret that. So I can hold bitterness and injustice and anger within me for 50 years about an event which has no reality anymore. The only place that event exists is in my mind. It exists nowhere else. And the moment I forgive that event and release it from my mind, there's no other triggering mechanism for that emotion. So I contain that within myself. And with the memory of the past is also the thought of the future. If you consider most of the fears that we have, they are not about the present. We fear that someone may die, that someone may not succeed, that we may not be safe, that someone may not love us forever. I mean, most of our fears have to do with the future and not with the present. A fear in the future would be that a lion walks in the room and he's hungry, and he looks at us as prospective food. That would be fear in the present. Fear in the present would be that there's an earthquake at this moment. The rest of our fears have to do with things which may happen. I may not have economic security after a year. I may not have that loved one after a certain period of time. I may not succeed, or my child may not succeed. All of those are fears and emotions based on what may or may not happen. They have nothing to do with the present. So we have triggering mechanisms. Number one, the events in the present, memory of the past, and thoughts about the future. Another triggering mechanism is the hormonal state, the chemical state of the body. It is known that chemical substances can trigger certain emotional states. Psychedelic substances can trigger certain states. Hormones, especially in the woman in her monthly cycle, she experiences various emotions without having a specific external event which may trigger that. Or the event may be small and the reaction more intense depending on the hormonal state. Now, the hormones are not the cause. We must understand that. The cause is what my inner tendencies, my beliefs, my needs, which are brought to the surface by this hormonal state. It's like the difference, we have a seed in the ground. Water comes and causes that seed to grow, but the cause of the growth is the seed, not the water. The water just gives the ability for the seed to grow. So the hormonal state just gives the ability for what is within us to be expressed. It's not the cause of what comes out. What comes out is within us. Those feelings are within us. The hormonal state just allows them to be expressed more easily. And the same is true for our energy level. That is, when our energy level is low, we are more prone towards negative emotional states. That is, small things bother us. Whereas when our energy level is high, even the most negative triggering mechanisms may leave us unaffected, all depending on our emotional and our energy state. And that's why for these last two triggering mechanisms, the hormones and the energy state, we have to refer back to the physical harmony, and that's why we did physical harmony before emotional harmony, because we can eliminate a large number of unpleasant emotions by keeping our hormones in a harmonious state and keeping our energy level high and harmoniously flowing. And that means daily exercise, breathing, relaxation, meditation, if you decide to learn that, prayer, proper diet. You're just keeping a very harmonious physical state.